your time, Matt. There we are. I've got that. So just to give an overview of what we're doing today, people, including our special guest, is that my name's Ian Black and I work for a company called AutismAble, and what we're doing at the moment is a project called Band Together. And Band Together is about trying to help people from who are neurotypical work their way through the music industry and let us know if they've got any obstacles that we can help with. So we're basically kind of like a helping facility trying to get people through further on in their kind of musical journey. So we've got the one and only Mr. Matt Jacob from the phenomenal label Memphis Industries. Can we all give Matt Jacob a nice welcome?
Hand clap. Hello, everyone.
How is that? Right. So Memphis Industry is an independent record label. They were established in 1998, and they were established by the brothers Jacob, which is Matt and Ollie. And they're best known for having bands such as the Go Team and Field Music as well. And they've let people string along like myself, with their band Slug. So I just want to ask you, Matt, because everyone's journey starts somewhere, doesn't it? No one just suddenly starts a record label and it does phenomenally well. Can I just ask, what did you do before starting the record label, and why did you start it, and how did you find doing it? A lot of questions.
Well, I went to university, started training to be a lawyer. At the same time, I was down at Sussex University doing English. Basically finished our degrees, moved back to London. Just had the idea of starting a label, just a really small bedroom thing, doing maybe 12 inches a year. Sort of like it was 1998, so it was the back end of sort of like it was electronic music was quite a big thing then. So it was people in their bedroom, Cubase, making instrumental soundscapes basically, and that's how it started.
Was there any kind of record labels that you kind of look up to, that you kind of, because
at the time,
like anybody really, you need somebody to kind of look up to or kind of learn from? Was there any kind of record labels that did for you?
Well, obviously, like Warp, at the time were big, inspiration. But I recall, because we didn't know what we were doing at all. So, we had no real contacts or anything in the industry. So, but if you were to buy a bit of vinyl back then, there would be possibly a mailer from the record label in the sleeve, and we got in touch with a label called the Leaf Label from one of the games and asked them a bit of advice. So the Leaf Label were, I guess, an inspiration too, and helped out. They're still around, based in Leeds now, and do lots of good stuff. I guess those Warp and the Leaf Label at that time were probably.
No, that's great, because I think no one truly ever does it solely themselves, does it? They always need a little bit of help from somewhere, if it's just advice or it's always good to kind of reach out and just ask for a little bit of help if you need it.
I mean, we found out which distribution company the Leaf Label went through, I think, I seem to recall. And then once we had our first artist, their music, we got in touch with that distribution company, and they went, we'll distribute it, and that was basically the start. So it was like just making that connection to Leaf Label, and then to this distribution company called Kudos, who's still around, and kicked it off.
At the beginning of the journey, of course, there's been you've been going for for a while now, but at the very beginning, when you started off, what were the kind of challenges that you were faced with from the offset?
Well, you do need a bit of money to kickstart it. Obviously, you need you need to manufacture the vinyl. Back then, that was the main cost, really, manufacturing vinyl.
Right.
We didn't pay for promotions back then at all. So it was literally the cost of manufacture. So having a little bit of money to start off with is, and then hopefully the record sells. If that doesn't, then you're a bit screwed. But yeah, having a bit of money, having a distributor who was able to get it into the shops, so you weren't having to ring around the shops and literally send it to them yourselves. That was key, really. At the start.
The reason why I asked that is because I think people who aren't knowledgeable of the music industry don't realize how many kind of, like, the music industry is almost like a tree with so many branches. And if
it is now.
You can kind of walk into it completely blind, that you don't realize all these different intricate things are going on at once. It's kind of good to be knowledgeable about, so at least you can see it coming a mile off if you were to start your journey in the music industry. Who was the first? Well, I know because I've done my research, man. You know, who was the first artist that you signed, and what was the reason before?
An artist called Blue States, and what we did was we put an ad in the back of Future Music, which is like a tech sort of music tech magazine, basically saying we were looking for new artists, and he sent us a demo. That was it. And it was good. That was it. It was as simple as that, wasn't that? Yeah.
It can be as easy as that, kids. Listen to that. It can be as easy as just sending the demo in and people enjoying it and wanting to put it out.
It was the first demo.
From horse's mouth there. I'm not.
Yeah.
It wasn't the first.
It was the first. Yeah. It was the first. We only got about 5.
Oh.
I think. Right. Signed 2 of them. Blue States, Blue States. It started out. It was a guy in his bedroom in his parents' house making music on Cubase, basically. He was like inspired by Ennio Morricone and Roy Budd and sort of soundtracky stuff.
All up my street. I haven't actually listened, I might have to. How I got to know about your record label was obviously pre Peter and Dave Brewers. It was Pete Goffin's. Xavier. Xavier. I used to work in music, so I remember just looking on the back. I didn't realize it was Pete Goffin at the time, but I remember just looking at like Memphis Industries. Great, so it just shows how strong that logo is. You wouldn't expect it to be that strong, but I remembered it.
Yeah.
So when did you feel like you started becoming like a proper record label as such?
Well, I think
when was the first kind of
something that made you feel like it was a bit serious? Probably Blue State's first album. It was the first album we released. It did much better than we expected, and it sort of made some money essentially. So that was like, whoa, this could actually be something. We can use that money to sign artists, which we did. Not necessarily successful ones, but broadened the catalogue and just kept things interesting. That was 2001, I think. And then we had a bit of a lull for a couple of years where put stuff out and it was all good, but didn't necessarily reach those Blue States heights. But then we signed the Go Team, which was just took it to a different level, but international success, which was that was a whole different thing.
I guess that record was so good. So that record's so good. I remember blowing, like when I worked at the record shop, that was one that we used to put on over and over again. That this is before I met you, Matt. We used to put that record is so strong. It kind of like it was a melting pot of different influences, wasn't it? And different kind of sounds. And he put it and Ian put it together so skillfully that you could not take notice, but that was just on heavy rotation at Music Zone. So the Go Team. So what happened with the Go Team? And so like they released the first album, and then did it just take off? Or
again, the Go Team was just one guy in his bedroom, essentially. Yes. We'd mostly been doing band like artists you know, producer artists, you know,
Mhm.
only men in their bedroom making music essentially. But Ian from the Go team, well, I don't want to be presented like that. I'm going to put a band together and going to present it as a sort of band rather than just me. So, which was quite a good idea in the end, because people wanted to book them. So we started managing them as well as being the record label.
Yeah.
And they went, yeah, it's just, they went on around the world and sold lots of records. It was really good.
They're on Jules Holland, I think it was.
It's sort of like changed things in terms of what sort of bands would sign. We went, oh,
Yeah.
we could sign bands rather than just producer artists.
Yes.
Started doing that, and I guess like Field Music is a bit, you know, one of those signings. Tokyo Police Club signed at around the same time as well.
Yeah.
Pets, yeah, it was broadened what sort of artists we got involved with. So yeah, and that's when I gave up doing my old job around that time, 2004, 2005, I think.
Yeah. So you kind of had this as a kind of like a side hobby,
yes,
kind of hobby, but brought a bit of money in, which kind of, you know, helped.
Paid for it washed its face. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then by that point, yeah, it was like, well, we're gonna have to pay someone to come and run this thing, this label, or I give up my job. And then kind of like, you know, it was a bit of a no-brainer really. So gave up my job and started doing this.
And
yeah, and that was around 2005, I think.
And you haven't looked back, mate. You haven't looked back, have you?
I do look back. Lots of regrets. But yeah.
So you've been going for a while. You've talked about your kind of memorable successes. I've noticed you haven't said me in one of them, but never mind. Moving on.
Yeah, that's coming.
What kind of challenges have you faced later on in the label? Because obviously the industry constantly shifts.
Yeah.
And that's something I myself struggle with, because we've had a conversation where I'll be like, well, why don't we do this? And you went, Ian, I think that idea is 8 years too late. And I'm just like, all right, no, I'll just get back in my box.
Yeah.
But it does constantly shift, doesn't it? So what kind of what challenges have you seen, and how have you kind of dealt with them?
Well, obviously the big one is well, first of all, digital, you know, with iTunes came along and downloads became a thing. Mm-hmm. And that basically impacted CDs largely, because around 2001 vinyl took a nosedive. It was all CDs at that point, so we had to deal with that. At that point we had to deal with we had to cut back on how much vinyl we do. Got to the stage where we weren't doing any vinyl at all, we were just doing CDs. And then iTunes came along and wiped out the CD market as well. So it's like there's no physical. But then we obviously saw the upsurge in vinyl around, I guess that was like 2007. Started back up again. So dealing with that and having to, work out what to manufacture, that's a big one. It's like, I think that vinyl is going down a bit now. It feels like we've been over manufacturing at the moment. So
and because personally I think it's because it's got too expensive for a lot of, it's kind of priced.
But the price of pressing it has gone up a lot. So
that's had a knock-on effect to the
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I think the cost of living crisis really had an impact on vinyl sales. But so dealing with that fluctuations in things like that, it's been hard to deal with. What else? Used to be a big emphasis on things like the enemy, like magazines, the press. The press used to be super important. Like they can make or break a band, and that isn't so much the case anymore. Well, it definitely isn't the case. And bands break on social media is obviously a huge thing. Everyone talks about TikTok now. Getting your head around all these different, new social media services, like an ongoing nightmare. Which you don't have to do. you can drive yourself mad trying to think of the best strategy on each of these things. I think you just like get on them, post a few things, do what you need to do, and then get off there. Don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scared as an artist to do, because I feel like sometimes I show maybe a bit too much of my personality, and it becomes like a diary, and everyone's like, "Well."
I think you're good. I think the slug Twitter is great.
I do have that worry. But then you had obviously you had the streaming, you had like different formats going in and out of fashion. But then you had like the big one, didn't you? Like the pandemic. Did that have like a how did that
had obviously a negative, I mean, clearly a negative impact on bands that were touring at the time. And subsequent to that as well, I think certain demographic has maybe stopped going to shows, or did stop going to shows post-pandemic for a while. So I think sort of, the sort of over 40s have been a bit reluctant to return to shows a little bit, it looks like. So that definitely had an impact on live, but it actually had a positive impact on physical sales.
Right.
So those went up pandemic. There's a lot of mail order. Bandcamp was absolutely huge in that during those times. They started doing Bandcamp Friday.
Yes.
The Friday of every month, I think. The first Friday of every month. Waive their fees. So you'd basically make a big push on that Friday to tell people about a new release or something that's been out of stock for a while, that's back in stock. And just like the Bandcamp sales went through the roof. So financially, it wasn't totally disastrous. If you had your physical rights to. At the same time, streaming held up. In fact, went up a little bit because people are listening to music and stuff. So it wasn't as bad. Like when obviously when March 2020, it's like, oh my god, this is going to decimate us. So it's all over. So
found a way around it. But that's just something else. Like the music industry, it's hardly ever parties with champagne and going out. It is like a very,
is it not,
hard work where you're having to like look at all these different things and then using using your experience, using your skills, but also having a lot to look at the same time, just to kind of keep your head above water all the time. And I'm not saying that just to kind of like to scare anybody away from getting in the music industry, because it is very rewarding when something comes off, and it's brilliant. But it's just if you can just gain as much knowledge and information, you can't learn it all. I haven't learned it all. I still struggle a lot, but if you can learn as much as you can, it will fit you. So your record label, what is it? So I think what really a lot of young artists, they go through college, they learn like how to play the instrument, they buy the right, they create their own sort of musical language through the kind of records that they buy, and they know what they want to do. But where they start to struggle is the next step. They don't know what do we do? Do we just keep playing the same pub every week, or do we just start sending emails to people? So I think the next couple of questions, I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and then if there's anybody here who wants to ask a question, I'll let them have a say. But what is the best way for artists to get their music to yourself, as in what format, and what do you see? What do you want in an artist if you're kind of looking to approach somebody to join your label?
The best way, obviously, don't send CDs or tapes. Just send an email. If you can find the email address somewhere, should be able to. That is where the best way to contact labels, definitely. Just send a link to your music, brief description. Don't puff yourself up too much. You don't need to attach loads of it, like press shots and a full bio type thing. Just send the music, keep it brief, and it will probably get listened to. I think. I mean, we try to listen to everything. So
it's as direct as that. Just email. Don't like puff your chest out too much, because you know they don't want. Is it because you don't want what they say to kind of influence? You want to hear the music on a very sort of
I think you can turn people off by just saying the wrong thing. It's like, it's better to keep it brief. I mean, maybe it is good to describe the sort of music that's in it, because if you've sent us a sort of hard rock thing, like, you know, or I don't know, doom metal, we're not likely to be doing it, so we wouldn't be the best label for it. So we probably won't listen to that.
Yeah,
and I think it's good to do your research to find the right label for you, for your type of music. It's important to do that. Just do your research. It's all there on the internet.
What we've put in our band together pamphlet is exactly that. You know, do your research for the label that'll be best for you, because taste is, well, taste, I don't think taste is either right or wrong, but you know, it's like everyone has their own taste, and record labels have their own taste as well. So if you want to kind of look for a label which would probably put your work out, then it is best, like you said, Matt, to do your research, look into the record labels that you yourself enjoy, and then get in touch with those instead of sending it to other. If you, like you say, if you do metal, don't send it to Warp, you know, or something like that. I don't think they do that. They're just solely electronic label, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's also like, don't just rely on labels as well. If you can make the music somehow yourselves, then you own it. So you should, don't know, you can get it out there in various ways. I mean, there's lots of, you know, you don't need to make physical copies. Get up on Spotify. You never know. Things can just catch and just start moving without you doing anything sometimes.
That leads me to my next question, actually, Matt, and then we'll open the floor up for anybody else who wants to join in. Do you think with the birth of the internet, well, the internet's been going on for ages now, but with the with how what the internet has become, have you seen? I think you've kind of answered this question yourself just there, but have you seen record labels become less important for artists in a way? Not to put you down, Matt. Not to put you down. You've done some great work, but you know,
I definitely agree with that. Yeah. I mean, I think certainly, like, you know, sort of like management companies often have their own little labels on the side, so they're not desperate to do a deal with your Domino or your Warp, because they're giving away too much. They think so. You can quite easily become a successful artist without a label now. That's for sure. I do think that it helps having a label in many ways. It gives you sort of veneer of some sort of, like, you know, that's something behind it, rather than just you're on your own. I think sometimes radio takes you more seriously, potentially. I don't know. Maybe I would say that press takes you more seriously a little bit. The shops definitely, you know, if it's a label they've heard of, they're more likely to stock it, basically. So those things do still, you know, are still important. But if you're just a digital, I'm like, Spotify really don't care about labels, I think, apart from maybe they care about the major labels because they're, you know, but if you're Spotify, you can have huge success on Spotify without being signed to a label. Absolutely. They can just pick something up. It's pretty random, and then they can run with it, and then it can be pretty huge for you. But and you can do that without a label for sure.
Thanks for answering that. And again, I'm just going to just say thank you. I'm going to open the floor for any questions that are out there. But I just want to say, mate, I owe you a pint. Thank you very much for doing this. Maybe 2, actually. Possibly 3. Next time I see you in London, I'll buy you 3 pints. How about that? Pints? Yeah, cool. 3 all pints, London prices as well. But has anybody got any questions for the one and only Mr. Matt Jacob there? Mr. Foster, I know you want to get involved.
It's getting recorded. First of all, I wanted to ask Matt who his favourite Brewis brother was.
Oh, here we go.
Tony Brewis.
Tony wasn't brought on this to ask that, man.
I love them both dearly. They're equal, obviously.
It's a great answer. Let's have a look.
If you want to apply for a job in the music industry, not as an artist, but as a job, the two things you should really get good at is Excel, Microsoft Excel, and Photoshop.
Right.
And Photoshop, being able to do things, manipulate things on Photoshop. Those two things are huge. If you could do those, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if people want jobs in the music industry, if you can put that on your CV and actually be good at it, good at those two things, then definitely one step ahead.
Nice. I've got one question for you, Matt. Has there been anybody like the one that got away? Maybe as if you've had too much of a schedule and you really want to release something and you just couldn't because you had too much on or financial constraints, something like that?
I seem to recall we got a demo from Coldplay. We had it in the office. I'm not sure we got offered it exactly, but we had it.
The rubbish, man. You made the right choice.
Yeah.
How many releases would you look to do in a year? What's
normally do about 8 albums.
Right.
But I think this year's going to be less because we've started doing more management stuff. So we manage Yard Act and Fat Dog, who's signed to Domino now.
Yeah.
So other labels do all the donkey work now, which is good.
Yeah. So you've kind of branched out into management as well as being a regular label.
Yeah, you can't help but do that. It just happens naturally because you've been managing the Go team since 2004. Just by accident. It just kind of happens like that.
Yeah. And for the people out there who don't know this, Matt, me and you work together to put my tours together, don't we?
We did.
You just tell me where to go and I'll turn up, basically.
That's what happens, yeah. You turned up and played. It was great. Yeah.
It's a winning formula.
Cool.
But I just want to say, Matt, I really appreciate you doing this morning. I know you've given up. You could have been having coffee and eggs and bacon, and you've took that. You've had a coffee, good, but you've missed out on a good solid breakfast to come and chat to your best mate, Ian Black, and
it's an absolute
Andrew
pleasure.
Foster. Thank you very much. And I owe you 3 pints. 3
London prices.
London prices. Right. I'm sure I'll probably chat to you soon, mate. But thank you very much for this morning.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.